Not jamming in this spot and not putting yourself in the position where you can jam in this spot could be silently destroying your win rate. Point number one, the first way to stop losing at poker, if you're stuck, if you're break even, if you're losing, if you want to turn that graph upside down, this might just help you. You should try getting max value for your big hands. What that means is putting lots of money into the pot when you have a lot of equity, not worrying so much about what your opponent is going to call with or whether they call this time or anything like that, but prioritizing the max earnings the times you do get called. We talk about this in grade 1 of the Carrot Poker, but this is basically how we get into this spot. We have pocket eights, we flat the big blind, we check raise on queen 8 for two-tone. The turn is the deuce of spades and we overbet the turn. We overbet the turn here because our hand is worth a ton of money and we want to put ourselves in a position where that pot is very big on the river so that we can basically jam and get our whole stack in. This is what we should be doing for value, but this is something that so few people do who are stuck at low stakes because they are addicted to the feeling of earning something. Poker's not about earning something. In grade 1 lecture 2 of CPS, we talk about how magnitude trumps frequency. The magnitude of what you win when you get called is worth more than driving up the call frequency. There's a mathematical proof of that in that course, in that lecture, but take my word for it for now. This is what you need to do. So few people who are stuck at low and micro stakes are putting themselves in a situation where they're actually winning a stack. You could argue that against the nut flush specifically, you're winning a stack all the time, but you know, villain can have a queen or a worse flush here. You really do want to put the maximum amount in here for value if you're not check raising the river, which I actually don't think is best against passive pools. So this one, very, very important to get your whole stack in here when you have an extremely big hand. Facilitate that earlier on in the hand by raising flop, overbetting turn, and then make sure that you stick the rest in on the river, even if it's an overbet. Don't worry about this foldophobia. Don't fear your opponent folding. Get the money in, and if you look back over 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 trials of you doing that, you will see how good it is for your win rate. Trust me, this is one thing that could just get you to stop losing at poker. Let's get that blue line shooting up further. Okay, let's move on. In this hand, our opponent failed to recognize that they were basically only beating a bluff. We talked about this at great length in the last video that came out just about a week ago. Check that one out after you've watched this one. But basically, this is an extremely important thing. This is a splash pot, and it's the happiest I've ever been to receive a free flop in my entire life. I mean, just imagine getting to 15 to 1 to look at the flop with the queen 4 of hearts here. What a dream. Shame we didn't hit anything, but they were nice enough to give us a second go at hitting something. Then they were nice enough to give us good pot odds. Just peeling here for implied odds, pot odds, hoping more people call, just hoping to get a better bang for my buck here. Risk reward ratio is very good here, so very easy call. Get there in the river, this player checks, and we have a very easy value bet. I mean, our value range in this spot when we bet fairly big is basically flushes, right? Let's face it, we're not really value betting with anything else. We don't have sets. We hardly ever have a 4. If we did have a 4, I don't think we could bet the sizing. We're saying we have a flush or a bluff, and this is a very under-bluffed spot. That means that from our opponent's point of view here, it's very unlikely that we're getting to this situation in a three-way pot and then finding some bluff on this heart river when all of the random heart combinations in our range just got there. So I'm not bluffing enough here. No doubt I'm just weighted strongly towards value here. That's just the way it goes. That's just the way this spot should be. And our opponent, if they're playing really good poker, should ask themselves a key question. Am I beating villain, meaning my value range, or am I just beating villain's bluffs? And in this case, villain is only beating our bluffing range. So all that matters is whether we're over bluffing. Forget about your hand, forget about the board, your absolute hand strength, forget about your ego, and don't just call because you can't fold a straight. Don't call it a cooler. Don't lament to yourself that you're so unlucky and there was nothing you could do. This is nonsense. This is a clear fold. If you're hand reading and asking yourself the right questions, ask yourselves, guys, how often do you lose a big pot or stack off in spots like this because you just refuse to be honest about whether your hand beats any value or whether it just beats bluffs, and then you don't even ask yourself how likely your opponent is to be bluffing. Point 3, don't bet the middle. Don't bet the middle of your range. Stop inventing weird reasons for betting. In this hand, we have ace queen, we open, we get 3-bet, we called, we misread the action here in game. I actually thought I was a 3-better and that this was under the gun. So, you know, also an extra point, maybe the 10th way to stop losing is read the action better than I have here. Do as I say, not as I do, as every teacher likes to say. And we go for third pot here on the flop, which is a bit weird because we thought we were the c-better, but it's fine. Villain calls, and the turn is a king. And now if we actually are honest about our hand strength, what is it we expect to bet turn and jam river with and be called by worse? Remember, in the 8th hand, we were very happy just building the pot all the way because we knew by the end when we made that giant investment, we'd be super happy when called. We had the nuts, right? Here we are losing to quite a lot of combos. King Jack, Ace King, Pocket Jacks, Pocket Nines, Queen 10, some other two pairs. We're chopping with Ace Queen. It doesn't seem like if we bet turn and jam river that we're super happy. You can bet the flop, the turn, the river, any street in poker for one of two reasons. You can value bet or you can bluff. If you can't clearly satisfy one of those criteria, you should not be betting. Don't bet to rep the king. Don't bet to scare your opponent. Don't bet to find out where you're at. Don't bet solely for protection. Protection's a side benefit of betting. Don't make up reasons that are not one of the primary pair of reasons. Value betting and bluffing. I can't stress this enough. We check here because our hand's not vulnerable. We do not crave the whole stack going in here. We're going to get a lot of transparency if villain bombs this river. We can just fold, like we're going to have a bluff catcher in an underbluff situation. And if villain checks again, then we get the green light to value bet. We've now moved ahead of hands like Ace Jack, etc. If villain had a king, they're very likely just not checking the river. And this is going to be true in most of your games. If you're playing 25 NL, 50 NL, 100 NL, this is going to be true. And we get paid off by Ace Jack, which is nice. Don't bet the middle of your range. Don't invent new reasons for betting. Not only are you complicating the game, but you're also just playing in a very unsound way. If you don't have a theoretical backbone, watch Grade 1, Lecture 3 of the Carrot Poker School on bluffing, and one of the things it'll tell you to do is not bluff with showdown value. If you watch Lecture 2 on value betting, it'll tell you not to value bet too thinly when your hand does not crave that big of a pot. If you adhere to those two things, you're not going to go wrong in this respect. Point number 4, bluff when they bet and then check the next street. So we have Queen 10 here, we min open, we go three-way, and it goes check, check, check. You could see bet here. I think just checking three-way with this hand is perfectly fine. The turn is the 4 of diamonds. Villain bets are about half pot. This will be mergy. It'll be kind of weakish. You could raise here. You could call here. If you call, you obviously have the intention to bluff the river because that is the pattern that they've bet and then they've checked. We call this river blunder theorem in the Carrot Poker School. You might have heard me talk about it before, but this action sequence is one that even in game theory, you're meant to get a ton of fold equity here. So if you bet pot here, you'd break even if they fold 50% of the time, right? If you're bluffing, but they're going to fold more than that, even in game theory. In practice, they tend to overshoot that even more. They tend to fold more than the solver, which folds more than the break-even point. After this line is music to your ears when you have nothing. If you check this river with this hand, it's not that you don't deserve to play the game or anything horrible like that, but you're losing a lot of EV. You're costing yourself a ton of money. So that's a joke, by the way. I say you don't deserve to play this game a lot on this channel if you're not a regular subscriber. Why don't you hit the subscribe button? You can catch this content more and more. So yeah, this is a play that you just have to make. It's very bread and butter when you get to a certain level, but many of you who are hard stuck, who are not beating 25 NL, etc., are just missing these bluffs all the time. If they bet and then they check, you get the green light. You have a lot of fold equity against population, in theory, against almost every human being. Bluff those spots. You must bluff those spots when you don't have much showdown value or you have no showdown value. You've got to bluff. Okay, let's move on to the 5th point. I want you to take this one with a big pinch of salt, but it is usually true. Do not fold the river against half pot. Half pot is generally a very over bluff size. That means that when your opponent goes half pot like they do in a spot like this, they will usually have too many bluffs and not enough value bets for the pot odds that they're giving you. Here we make a pretty cheeky defend because we're in position. We have 2 cards. You know, one is above 5. And yeah, we have a diamond in our hand. That's kind of all we need to have to defend this spot when we think we have a skill edge and we're very arrogant and all of that stuff. So we just peel here. And the flop is King 9-6 rainbow and it goes check check. The turn is the deuce of diamonds and they bet small. And we call because we're getting 6,020 to 1 and we have a pair. And if we're behind, we can draw to trips or 2 pair, but we're usually ahead and we're getting 1,000,000 to 1. On the 7 of spades river, not that much has changed. The opponent still has this very, very wide range that opens small pre, didn't bet the flop, only bet small on the turn. They have arrived here with a ton of bluff combos or potential bluff combos when they bet half pot. They're saying, hey, by the way, I have a value hand 3 times more often than I have a bluff. They're saying it's 3 to 1. You only win 25% of the time. That's what GTO is saying when it bets here. And I will usually be losing 3/4 of the time. I'll be losing with this hand against a solver. Against a human, I probably win like 66% of the time or something. It's so ridiculous. But if you fold here because you look at a pair of 6s and you're like, I don't like it, then you are playing some of the worst poker ever. No offense, but this is very, very bad. it's eating away at your win rate dramatically. If you're looking to have a 9 or better to call here, you're approaching bluff catching in exactly the wrong way. You should be thinking about whether it's likely the opponent's over bluffing or under bluffing your pot odds and go from there. Yeah, they're probably bluffing all sorts of stuff like this, right? The 6th point today is block bet for thin value. Just because your hand got worse does not mean that you have to just automatically press the check button like some kind of scared robot, just like, oh no, bad thing, check. People do this all the time and it will eat their win rate alive. So this Queen 8 offsuit here, again, we're just defending because villains are recreational and, you know, we're getting 1,000,000 to 1. We're not happy, but it's probably better to call than to fold here. I would guess we check the flop, they check back. We kind of have the green light here. People are not very good at checking back drawy low boards when they have a short stack and are recreational. Even though technically they should check kings at some frequency here, it's just not going to be happening much. So we just bet, and we bet a sizing that like ace high can call because we're just trying to exploit their range and not worrying about like some kind of solver adherence strategy or anything like that. They call and the river is a king. This is a bad card. If you look at this card and react emotionally, you will press the check button because that is the button that is most closely correlated with, oh no, a king came. But if you let that thought subside for a while and you just sort of chill with it for 3 or 4 seconds, that's all it takes, you can start thinking again and you can begin to realize that your equity here is probably still 65% or something like that. The opponent has usually missed the king. They have ace high that, yes, can call. Don't just assume people are going to fold ace high to a small bet like this. They can have a 6, a 7, pocket 5s, pocket 4s, a worse 8. There's lots of stuff you can get value from here. You're only really losing to King X that had a reason to call the turn, and a lot of King X won't call the turn, so you are pretty much out of the woods here. You can't bet big anymore because of this card, but you still want to value bet. So many people get deterred from value betting here and make no more money against the 7, and it's just kind of a shame. There are 2 reasons to bet, as we talked about before, value betting and bluffing. Block is not a reason for betting, it's a description of the bet size. So you block the river for value when you're a favourite when called for that sizing, and you block the river as a bluff when you get a decent amount of fold equity from better hands in your opponent's range for that sizing. You don't need that much, obviously, because you're betting small. So yeah, this hand is kind of boring, nothing happens, we don't get called, but this is just a very healthy habit to build into your game. If you're not doing this, you're leaving money on the table. It could well be a contributing factor to why you are not winning at poker. Here's another biggie, point 7. When your opponent's range is strong, you should fast play your big hand as we do here. We open king 7 in the hijack, we get 3-bet to a pitiful sizing, and we decide to peel. We shouldn't be able to call this to a 3-bet, but when villain goes this small, we can suddenly mine all the blue cards, and all the blue cards come, which is great. The blue cards are the best color to mine. They come the most often, especially if you're also wearing a blue shirt, so that's what you should do. Villain bets the flop for half pot, and we just fast play. We're just like, okay, what's that you say? You have like ace queen with a diamond, or jacks or queens or kings or aces, or ace 10 with a diamond or something. You have some hand that you want to bet half pot with. Okay, they could have nothing, but if they have king queen of clubs, their propensity to just blast off this board after going 7 big blinds before the flop is going to be non-existent. So you just want to fast play. Villain puts money in, we put more money in, they put even more money in, and we oblige, and they just have kings. If we slow play here, a few bad things can happen. More blue cards can come, that can kill our action. An ace can come, that can kill our action against hands like this. And if your opponent's not bluffing you much anyway, because they just have a really strong range, there's no reason to slow play. Slow playing is good when you want to maximize from the bottom of the opponent's range, when they're going to be bluffing a ton, and you don't want to shut down those equityless bluffs. But when villains' bluffs are all like tons of equity because they have a blue card, and there's like 3 blue cards out there, or they just have a value hand where they're without a blue card, fast play your 2 blue cards, right? That's all you got to do. All right. Stop slow playing for no reason. Stop fearing that they're going to fold. Stop copying a solver. Stop protecting your checking or your calling range and start maximizing EV today, and you might just get unstunned. Point number 8, exploit C-bet monkeys. C-bet monkeys are everywhere. They are like mosquitoes when you go to a hot country. They bite you, and if you don't swat them and hit yourself in the face and put ointment on, you're going to suffer. And the ointment here is to not respect this line, half pot on 965. This is effectively a range check board in game theory. A creator I know called The Hungry Horse would definitely range check this board, but this is not The Hungry Horse. This is a very meek horse altogether who's just betting for the hell of it, probably. So we raised with the 9. We're just like, okay, what's that you say? You're betting all kinds of stuff you shouldn't be betting, because this is what your opponents will do at low stakes, at micro stakes. I'm going to just raise with top pair. I'm going to fast play. I'm going to make you fold live stuff. I'm going to get value. I'm not just going to call, which is the default GTO play. I'm going to actually play my hand like an intelligent human. The turn is the jack of spades. They check again. I'm going to keep value betting. I'm not going to go big. My hand doesn't have a super high investment ceiling, but it does have the propensity to get one more bet in for value. It can do that very comfortably as long as we don't oversize it. And again, the opponent's range is a lot of ace high. It's a lot of worse pair. It's a lot of draw. It's a lot of pair plus draw. Just keep value betting. Villain snap called the flop and the turn. Don't bet the middle. Now you have the middle. You're not value betting. You're not bluffing. We've covered don't bet the middle already. Check back. Win against 10 high. Easy game. When your opponent's recreational, you can do all sorts of stuff. When your opponent's bad at poker and in a transparent face-up way, you can do so much stuff that you can't do in a solver. So don't copy the solver. Think. Use your brain. Don't respect c-bet monkeys. Punish them. Rule number 9. The final rule of the video. This has been a blast to make. If you've liked this format, if you think it's helped you, now is a great time to hit the pause button or not and just write a quick thank you in the comments or say what you think of it, or hit the thumbs up button or the like button, I believe that's called, if you're not a boomer. And yeah, do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really helps us out, helps us reach as many people as possible. Hopefully not your opponents though. We open ace jack here. This brings us to rule number 9, which is apply pressure to capped ranges. Capped is not an absolute term. You don't have to mean that the opponent can never have a really good hand. You just mean that the vast majority of their range is not good hands. I use capped in what's known as a gradable way, where we can talk about it being true to an extent. We're not saying that it's binary, it's absolute or anything like that. So here we see bet flops small, villain calls. This turn bet is okay. It's not the best in the world, but this is a hand that has something going for it. This is not going to be like a big deal. If you see a solver not do this, it's not going to be horrible to do this. And you know, all you need is really like the jack of diamonds and the solver spec this hand at a really high frequency probably. So it's not a huge deal. If you think people are overfolding with capped ranges, which they are, then you can consider doing something like this. 3 and a bit X pot has to work a little bit over 75% of the time. These odds here, by the way, are the opponent's odds for calling, not our odds for bluffing. And I think this play works more than that. I think it works probably 80%, 80 something percent of the time. And that means that even though it really stings like hell when you get called here by a belligerent king or you run into like king 6, it's just going to get through a lot because the opponent just has a real shortage of nutted hands here. Like your range contains stuff like 2-pair sets, things that can do this, some straights that you've just made, like the 10-7 suited maybe. Okay, maybe not in these positions, but you know, in some positions. And the opponent's range is more capped. So this is just a good thing to add to your repertoire. It's less essential than the other stuff we talked about today. It's more something for the future. But yeah, I thought we'd end on this note. We'd look forward into the rest of 2025. We'd try to get you beating the games, moving up in stakes, not losing anymore. Have fun, not losing any more at poker, hopefully. And do watch this again if you've forgotten any of the tips. Try and apply all of them in your next session. All right, catch you later.